All right, guys, it's been almost a full 2 weeks since they announced the Oscar nominations for this year's Academy Awards. Hopefully everyone is in a good place. Hello there, welcome back to the garage. Another one of my rankings videos here for the folks that ended up being nominated at this year's 96th Annual Academy Awards, of course, the Oscars. I did my rankings for the Best Picture nominees initially, and then last week I put out my rankings for the Best Actor and Best Actress, the lead acting roles. On today's video, I'm going to rank the supporting acting nominees. I'm going to give you my 5 through 1 in supporting actor, and then I will give you my 5 through 1 for supporting actress on the same video. These are just my personal opinion. I mentioned this in my previous videos, but people didn't hear that disclaimer or just didn't care and wanted to tell me how wrong I was. These are not my predictions for the winners. I will do that video probably only one time towards the end of February. So this is my rankings, my personal enjoyment of these nominees that ended up making the final 5. Let's start with the Best Supporting Actress race because, and I don't mean this to sound rude, but this is the weakest category. Penelope Cruz for Ferrari is missing. Rachel McAdams for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Not here. Julianne Moore from May, December. Where is she? Rosamund Pike from Saltburn. What? But alas, I digress. Here's what we have for who got nominated for Best Supporting Actress this year. I'm going to give you my personal rankings. Let's get into it. All right, coming in at my number 5 is America Ferrera in Barbie. Her role of Gloria in the film, I thought was a much needed, realistic, grounded character in that movie. Obviously, the monologue in about the middle part of this movie about the struggle and the plight of women in today's society is really what got her noticed for this role. In the Screen Actors Guild Awards as well, with her speech there, which was absolutely tremendous. I cried. I just don't know with a lot of the other actresses I mentioned and with some other actresses in Barbie that did not make any nominees. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm okay. I'm just pointing it out. In my number 4, Emily Blunt plays Kitty, J. Robert Oppenheimer's wife. That's going to be my 4. Emily Blunt is one of those actors that you're just kind of blown away by the fact that she's never been nominated for an Academy Award because of all the great things that she's done in her career. And I wonder if that's what kind of pushed her over the edge with this role. While she was really, really good in it, I'm thinking of the scene that she shares during the deposition of her husband and a lot of the expressions that she carries in her face when she's raising her young children. She's dealing with Oppenheimer at Los Alamos. There's a lot of great things that Emily Blunt turns in this movie, but this is another one, much like America Ferrera, where at the time I just thought, yeah, she's great, but is she in this movie enough? Does she have enough lasting impact as a character in this epic tale to stand out to the Academy? Obviously she did. She's one of the final 5 that made the supporting actress nominees. I love her, but for me it's my number 4. Coming in at my number 3 is, quite frankly, and again, I hate to be rude because I gave Annette Bening a pretty hard time on my Best Actress rankings, but Jodie Foster, from an acting perspective in Nyad, was my favorite part of that movie. She played that character of the friend that's always going to be there for you, almost to the point where they're an employee, which is kind of what ends up happening in a roundabout way in Nyad of her character of Bonnie. But it was such a grounded, down-to-earth performance that was able to, much like she had to do with Nyad in the film, keep us kind of leveled as well as the viewer. Like, it's gonna be okay. And kind of talking us through that through her character in the film. And she has a very strong pedigree with the Academy. So I was not as shocked to see her pop up here as I was with like Ferrera and Blunt, for example. Of the performances that I have to choose from, another reason why Jodie Foster's performance really connects with me is because I don't take anything else away from Nyad as a film. I just didn't think it was that great. I mean, it was okay, but it's not an Oscar movie, in my opinion. And for that reason, Jodie Foster is the only thing in it that's Oscar worthy. She's my number 3. Guys, The Color Purple, when I did my initial Oscar predictions back in, I think, April of last year, which is way too early, by the way. Up until when I did them in early December, I was putting The Color Purple in to get like 5, 6 nominations. It only got 1, and it was for Danielle Brooks's portrayal of Sophia. Fantasia Barrino and Danielle Brooks, for me personally, are the 2 performances in that movie that I'm just awestruck by the level of dedication, emotionality, the comeuppance that their characters have in the movie. But speaking of Danielle Brooks specifically, she's a scene stealer in this movie, and that's why she's getting nominated. She's extremely memorable. I mean, as an audience member, you absolutely love her. She is so fearless and courageous and funny in that role. She brings levity to this pretty deep, dark story. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is not my predictions video. However, my number 1 for supporting actress on a personal preference level is most likely 99% sure going to be my prediction to win this award as well. And that's Da'Vine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. Her character of Mary Lamb is so heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. When we did our review of The Holdovers on my podcast, I mentioned that one of my big knocks on the film from Alexander Payne was that I felt like Mary's character was not in this movie enough. Obviously, the main focus is meant to be on Paul and Angus and their teacher-student kind of relationship. But when Mary was there and she was part of that trio, they were unstoppable. But when she would kind of leave the proceedings and it would just be the 2 of them, I wasn't as invested personally, even though I did really like the movie. But she elevated this film to something different for me. Randolph sits at my number 1. I also think she's probably going to walk away with the gold here. All right, so now I'm going to give you my 5 through 1 personal rankings of the best supporting actor nominees, the dudes. Let's get into it. We're still nominating Robert De Niro for everything that he's in. The guy is an icon. Don't get me wrong. He is a legend. But the only major performance in Killers of the Flower Moon that I really loved was Lily Gladstone's. Leonardo DiCaprio's kind of annoyed me. I didn't even really like him in that film. And Robert De Niro, to me, who is my number 5 here, is good, but he's always good. It's a pretty standard De Niro performance, and I feel like it's a legacy nomination. It's not a bad performance, but I feel like there's a lot of other actors in the game right now that could have easily slid into what I assume was the 5th spot here, like a Dominic Sessa, as we were just talking about The Holdovers, for example, would have been a perfect one. Willem Dafoe from Poor Things did not make it into the final 5. A lot of people thought he might as well. I felt like warm and cozy with his performance, and that it's another trusted De Niro role. I think there's other actors that I would have rather seen nominated this year. He sits at my number 5. My number 4, actually my 4 through 1 are all performances that I really, really like, and it was hard to kind of rank these. But my number 4 on this ranking for my personal preference is going to be Mark Ruffalo from Poor Things. He's one of the 2 actors from that film that did get in here. Why I love his performance in Poor Things is because he is so against type here. I've seen Ruffalo in a lot of stuff. Obviously the Marvel stuff, which by the way he's great in, but the romantic comedy stuff that he's done a couple dramatic roles. But this was just a bizarre, slapsticky, villainous, tomfoolery, dumb role, and he was just hamming it up as Duncan. I mean, the guy made me laugh almost every single time he was on screen. He was just so over the top in his line deliveries, in sharing the scenes with Emma Stone and other actors that he was talking to. Like I said, I just respect the game for Ruffalo here of doing something that I've never seen him do. I mean, not even close to anything I've ever seen him do. My number 3 is going to be Sterling K. Brown's nomination for American Fiction. He plays Jeffrey Wright's brother Clifford in the movie, his gay brother. Sterling K. Brown has got a career that I admire so much. I mean, This Is Us, the television show, of course. Waves a couple years ago. Literally anything you can name right now. If I've seen him in it, I was impressed with his performance. And I mentioned when I did my Best Picture rankings that American Fiction was the biggest surprise for me this year. I just didn't really have any expectations for it, and I ended up giving it like a 9 out of 10. It was one of the best movies of the year. It made my top 10 of the year. I was so happy it got nominated for Best Picture, and this was also a pretty big surprise for me on Oscars nominations morning, because a lot of people have been throwing Sterling K. Brown in the mix, and he had some precursors, but I don't know. I just thought that they were going to give it to Dafoe or even maybe a Dominic Sessa. I just didn't think it was going to happen for some reason. And when it did, it was like this wave of euphoria rushed over me as a film fan. All right, here we go. My number 2 is going to be a comedic performance, which I applaud the Academy for even nominating. But how can you ignore Barbie this year? Ryan Gosling as Ken in Barbie is my runner-up. So funny. He is one of the most rangeful actors that we have today. We are blessed to have Ryan Gosling. He's portraying that patriarchal character, and he's able to do it with such innocence and such naivety, and you don't hate him, even though he's kind of the representation of everything that's kind of wrong in Barbie world, because he's so lovable and believable in that role that he's just trying to find himself too. I love Gosling. I'm a stan of his. I think this is probably in his top 3 performances of all time. And the guy has some all-timers. It's my runner-up among the nominees. And then my number 1, you've probably figured it out. It's also probably going to be my prediction for the winner, although hold that thought for a couple more weeks. But let's go ahead and give the Oscar to Robert Downey Jr., in this case for Oppenheimer. He is nominated for supporting for his role of Lewis Strauss. The arc of this character, who was a real-life guy from this kind of lovable underdog to essentially a political vile villain by the end of the 3-hour epic, is a tremendous arc that RDJ grabs hold of and sinks his teeth into, and he ate in this movie. Not a crumb in sight when he got done. Having seen him act in movies for 30 plus years, I mean, this guy's been in my life forever, in my movie watching life forever. That's the best acting I've ever seen him do. I saw this movie and I told my friends when we left the theater, I don't recall him ever turning in a performance as on as that one was. But that's the best acting I've ever seen from a career actor who is dedicated to the craft, an icon in Hollywood who is long overdue for Academy Award recognition. I think it's his award to lose this year. And on top of all that, he's also my number 1 performance among the supporting nominees. Again, guys, these were just my opinions. These are not my predictions. Make sure you subscribe so you can come back for those. I'll be doing those in a couple weeks. I'm going to try to do some analytical head over heart predictions because I always go with my heart. And I'm like, damn it, this year, my heart's going to come through for me. My heart will go on, but it never does. What did you guys think of them? Who is your favorite actor or actress nominated for supporting this year? What are your rankings? Let me know down below. As always, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you out here next time in the garage.